I'm not really a comic book kind of guy. Yeah, I know we did a top 10 best comic book video game video, which you totally should check out right here, but that was a group effort, not a personal project. There is one superhero that I do enjoy, if only from a careful distance. The Caped Crusader has always felt like a cool superhero, lacking in any goofy gimmicks and magical powers, and left only to his devices and his wit. And if he wasn't cool enough, his villains took it even further. The Scarecrow, Two-Face, Poison Ivy, and of course the Joker are all some of the most memorable villains ever conceived. And so, with all of these awesome villains and a dark, brooding protagonist, some great games have spawned from this series. Does the most recent Telltales adventure title live up to the Batman name? I'm Spencer with the Itch Network, and let's review Batman, the Telltales game. If you haven't played a Telltales game by this point, you must be living under a rock, and that can't be easy. Just ask James Franco. These games are the evolution of the adventure genre, where you control a character through scenes that play out like a movie. Only you make the decisions and carry out actions with timed button presses and solve puzzles. This style of game actually lends itself perfectly on almost all fronts to Batman. Almost. In this game, you obviously control the Dark Knight as he uncovers some secrets about his past and meets some all too familiar faces. It's always fun to see reimagined interpretations of the Batman villains, and you'll immediately meet a few here in episode 1, albeit now with some interesting relationships. One thing I never look forward to is the scene where they establish Bruce Wayne's tragic past, but I'll give them credit that they're doing something a bit different this time. Expect to be surprised, unless this was the plot of one of the million comic book iterations, in which case, bleh. You play the game as either Bruce Wayne or Batman as you maneuver through a political space and beat up bad guys, respectively. During scenes of dialogue, you speak with other characters using a familiar timed option menu, allowing choices that range from upstanding citizen to slightly less than nice guy. You are the hero after all. This game follows the darker tones most people are used to, so if you were expecting an Adam West incarnation, holy beans and rice will you be in for a shocker. There's blood, swearing, man-on-woman violence, Harvey Dent's neck, and so much adult content here I think most fans of the current Batman mediums should be more than satisfied. Combat is a different animal. Those familiar with the series can expect more timed button presses. Yay. I've never liked these, and here it's no different. I know it's not meant to be an action game, but every time I wound up in one of these brawls, I wished I was playing the Arkham series. Some people really enjoy this style, so I'll write it off as personal taste, but note that if you like your Batman with extra combat, you may come away disappointed. The animations are nice enough though, and the battles certainly do have that comic book panel feel to them. I was half expecting onomatopoeias every time a Brozov got knocked the fuck out, but all I got was a lousy blood splatter. Aside from dialogue and combat, there's not a whole lot going on here, but that's the game's real goal. There was a bit of detective work, which seems to be something the franchise has zeroed in on more and more these days, and I enjoyed what was going on there as well, though I don't want to spoil the mechanic for fear that it's the only time they'll use it in the series, and that would technically be a spoiler. And I know how much you losers hate spoilers. The graphics nail that comic book style that verges on realism. The Batman scenes in particular were a treat, with some impressive lighting effects. The voice acting was fine. Nobody really stood out to me, but nothing hurt it either, so I give it a thumbs up. The music was pretty much what you'd expect from a Batman game. Honestly, if you've played a Telltales game before, you'll know what you're getting into in regards to presentation. So here we have a Batman game in the Telltales style with good graphics, good sound, and an enjoyable story. The only real drawback for me is the combat, but that's more subjective. The dialogue is top-notch, and while I obviously can't say where my choices will lead me in the future episodes, I'm very excited to find out. Episode 1 took me maybe 2 hours to complete if I were focused on taking in the scenery. It's $25 for the whole game, or $5 for just the episode. I would go for the full purchase if you're interested in Batman, and probably the same in general unless you're not a fan of these games. This is definitely the highest quality game I've ever seen from them. I give Batman a 5 out of 7.